Okay, hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have a really cool watch for you from a brand that I've had my eye on for quite some time. Now, this is of course a piece from Stowa Watch Company. They were founded in Germany back in 1927. Now, they are a micro brand or boutique brand with a very strong tie to the original Flieger watches and Bauhaus models. So they're not just kind of a new upstart from a bunch of guys who loved watches. They're a brand with actual history, and really they're only a micro brand in terms of scale and size, not necessarily in quality or ability. They definitely have flexed their watchmaking muscle quite a few times and created some very cool timepieces, this being one of them. Now, although they're more known for some of their more traditional watches with the Bauhaus style or the Flieger Pilot watches, this particular model is right there more in my brain housing, which is the dive watch. So I'm really excited to have a blue diver, of course, kind of my speciality, on the show for you guys. A little bit about dive watches, some key characteristics and common design language you're going to look for is, of course, something with water resistance, normally through a screw down crown and seal, something tough, legible. A dive time bezel is great, and if you have a bracelet, it's always nice to have a diver's extension if available. Now, this particular model is the Pro Diver Blue Limited. So the cool thing about this model is that it's limited to just 200 examples. This particular model you're seeing is number 199 of those 200. So this is one of the last ones, basically second to last one built from the line. So I'm hoping that it's probably the best one built. Now, a little bit about this particular model. It's actually an evolution of a model that's kind of been around since 1963, which is very cool and really nice to find, of course, a micro brand that has a dive watch, of course, that has its own design language. This isn't something that's borrowing from, a bunch of different models, or, it's not cookie cutter by any means. This is something where it was designed for a particular purpose and it was an original piece, and this is their design language that they've just been refining over the years. So really cool, and I'm really excited to have it for you guys. So let's go ahead and zoom out and get him in hand. Okay, so a little bit about this model. The Blue Limited, it's for the blue dial, and this blue dial is something special. It is not a sunburst dial. It has this really cool kind of metallic, satiny finish that really has more of a gradient transition, as you can see there. When light hits it, it doesn't have the sun ray, or that sun brush effect to it. It actually, and sorry about that, the reflections, of course, is the studio lights that it's under. So although this has a really nice AR coating, it's definitely, it's tough to kind of negotiate the bright lights here, being so close. But hopefully you can kind of get an idea of how that dial actually shimmers there and glistens, and kind of the way the blue transitions from a dark blue, even black, look to a nice bright blue, navy blue. So really cool, kind of a key feature there to keep in mind. Now, the retail price for these is $11.50 on the rubber strap, and then $1,300 on the bracelet. And of course, this is buying direct from Stowa, so there's no middleman there. You're definitely getting a really great price and a really great value, considering what you're actually getting, which is really nice. This isn't something that somebody can just kind of grab at the mall and not care about. This is a brand for people who like watches and people who know about watches. It's just kind of something that gives you that little feeling of exclusivity, because it's just a brand for people that are a little bit on the inside of the industry, right? So Although I posted the dimensions earlier across the screen, let's go over some of the kind of key dimensions there. It's actually 42 millimeters in diameter with a 15.6 millimeter height. This is, of course, a full titanium case that has a very fine matte sandblast. And it's definitely a much finer finish than you'll see in most kind of media blasts situations, especially on watches, especially on titanium. You would think it would be much darker, especially if it was sandblasted, but this definitely picks up the light really well, and that finish is so smooth. It just has a nice gloss to it that just picks up the light really, really well. And I gotta say, I love the hue of the finish. It's just really nicely done. And extremely finely executed. So back to the crystal. As you can see, it is a double dome, so there's no distortion there. Nice double dome sapphire. And the cool thing about it having that slight dome, as you can see, is that there's actually, the bezel insert is concave, so it actually cuts down in, then comes back out for the dome, which is just a really cool little design detail that kind of shows, you know, just a little bit more thoughtfulness when it came to producing this piece. You know, although it is very utilitarian, this definitely has style, and it just has definitely a style and design language all its own. And I'm really quite taken by it, and I gotta say, I'm very, very impressed. So as far as the bezel goes, this would probably be my one kind of, if I was going to be picky, my one item for this watch where it didn't exceed my expectations. It's a 60 click bezel, and I knew that going into it, so I figured it was going to have a little bit more play. Of course, 60 click versus 120 click, and it does move really nicely, and it's it has a nice click to it, and it's easy to grasp even with gloves on, and move it faster. Really nice and really quite satisfying. My only problem is I just feel like there's just a little bit of kind of bezel play on the side to side, kind of up and down, so not from here. I think it's really dialed in as far as this kind of tolerance goes, but I feel like just this tolerance could just use a little bit. Honestly, it'd probably be resolved by just having a thicker gasket. But for me, although it totally adequate and probably more functional than some of the tighter, very notchy bezels actions that I'm more accustomed to, this one I just wish it would have been just a hair tighter. Otherwise, this would probably be the only thing where I'd say this didn't exceed my expectations. It just kind of met my expectations because I was expecting, a 60 click bezel and kind of, the action that is entailed when you do have a 60 click bezel. Now, as far as the crown, that has these really cool crown guards here that just the light hits them, and then this hits the corners of the lugs there at the same time. It's really such a cool contrast with the finish and this case. But the crown, of course, is a very nice screw down crown signed with the Stowa logo, and those really great kind of art deco angles, and it's just really, 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 I mean, it's nicely done and really, really cool design. I'm just it's really impressed. I gotta say, the execution and the design, it's just something where it just, everything really comes together, and it's just a really well balanced piece. Balanced as far as design goes, balanced as far, in the physical plane, the way it feels on the wrist. Just everything about this watch is fine tuned. Is just kind of how I'd put it, and that's one of the reasons I really like it so much. So Moving on, the movement that this is powered by is the automatic ETA 2824-2, so definitely a workhorse movement and something that you'll find in watches much more expensive and you know, also in watches that are cheaper. But you know, kind of due to the fact that there are a lot of other movement options out there and ETAs, you know, they're just kind of just so robust and so well known and so kind of you know, as far as serviceability goes, it's way up there. I mean, definitely really great piece, and it's, you know, there's really not much to complain about if you have a 2824. It's something you can kind of buy and forget and not worry about. Now, serviceability wise, for some other movements that I enjoy, you know, some Seiko movements or, you know, particular Miyota movements, you know, as far as getting serviced, more often than not, if you damage one of those movements, you're probably just going to get a new movement dropped in. Now here you can actually have the movement serviced, have pieces replaced and everything like that. So that definitely is something that just adds a little bit more versatility. And I think that's honestly one of the reasons why watches with ETA movements tend to retain their value just a little bit better than ones with Miyota movements or Seiko movements. So just a little food for thought on that front. Now the case back is solid and etched, you know, very utilitarian as far as that goes. You know, it's a tool watch. It didn't need to have anything crazy on the case back. It just needed to be secure for water resistance. So that's definitely what they have here, and it is very nicely done. And of course, that nice little dome adds to the comfortability, more comfortable wear, because instead of having kind of a flat piece on your wrist, now you're going to have kind of a step right there, which allows you, you know, a little bit better range of motion, which we'll show once I get this on wrist. So as far as the dial, hands, and lume go, the dial has, you know, of course, like we talked about earlier, that really, really beautiful and unique, you know, satin metallic blue dial. It has printed indices. It has the date right there at the 6 o'clock, and it has a really cool printed kind of frame around it. Everything is just really nicely integrated. And actually, if you take a look at the, you know, the lume, lume pip on the seconds hand, when it comes around to that date window, it actually lines up perfectly with it. So that's something to just keep an eye on. And it's just little details like that that you can tell there was a lot of design that went into this piece. This wasn't, you know, a cookie cutter catalog built, you know, homage diver. This is something that was built and designed from the ground up. So now we see the second hand starting to come around again. I'll try to get it nice and close, and you can see there, about to pass over, and bam. Very cool. There's just those, you'll keep finding little quirks like that when you look at this watch. Just really, you know, like the concave bezel insert, you know, that kind of comes into play here. You know, the way the angles have been thought out for the lug, you know, for the lugs, and then also on the crown guards, the way the light hits those kind of simultaneously because they're at a similar angle, and the offset there. It's just, I mean, really fantastic as far as design and execution goes. Again, you're gonna hear me say that, you know, over and over in this review because, you know, it is what it is. Now, as far as the lume goes, definitely really, really nice lume. It's C3 Super Luminova. So let's get a quick lume shot here. Zoom in without blurring out there. Hit it with the light here. Get it going. Just make sure it's at its. Oh, okay. Okay, here we go. Okay. Very nice. Hit the light now. So as you can see, C3, of course, really, really nice. And it's not overdone, you know, it kind of ties in with the balance of this piece in design and execution. You know, they're not a micro brand that needs to draw attention to itself by saying, hey, we got the brightest lume, or we have, you know, the deepest diving watch, or we have the most expansive, you know, bracelet and ratcheting system. You know, this is just a well-rounded piece. So it has, you know, it has enough lume, you know, for it to be functional and look good, and you know, with style on the way there. I mean, just a great piece. So again, you know, not crazy overdone lume, but definitely very nicely executed for what it is, and much brighter than probably what you'll see on a lot of other watches that are out there. So very impressive from that standpoint. Now, before we get it on wrist, let me zoom out, pick it back up again. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other specs here. Now, the lug width is 22 millimeters, and it comes on this really great natural rubber strap. I believe it's was sourced from Benedetto Centuri, because it definitely just has a very similar look, the smell, everything. That fine Italian quality is definitely there. And then you have this really cool signed double locking clasp, as you can see. Also carrying out with that fine matte finish. Very cool. So let's go ahead and get this on wrist. Now, there's also a metal bracelet option, and basically I will be doing, I was trying to wait to do this video until the metal bracelet was ready, but there was a little bit of a delay. So basically I'm doing the, you know, rubber strap video, and then I'll do a metal bracelet video afterwards whenever that comes in. So as you can see, it does wear, you know, very substantial. It feels, I mean, I wouldn't say it feels oversized, but it's definitely a large watch. But one of the things is, of course, you know, when you're looking at it, you know, kind of from a wristy perspective, it's definitely is going to look big. But if you know, if I was to try to get as much as my arm in here in my hand, once you see it kind of in proportion, you have an idea of scale a little bit better in perspective. I think it definitely wears really nice. So as you can see there, I'm trying to get a little bit more of my arm in the video, so you can kind of see the way it's really gonna ride on person, not necessarily, hey, up close wristwatch check, it's gonna look huge. I mean, even dress watches look pretty big on wristwatch check. So as you can see, really nice. And then that domed back there, as far as on the case back, it just allows you to have a little bit more flex there, which is really nice. So although it is, you know, it does have a little bit of a wider diameter and wider lugs, the lugs, you know, they are pretty short lugs, so you don't have to worry about them hanging off of your wrist there. I have a 7 1/4 inch wrist. So it definitely wears really nicely for me. And of course, the titanium, although it's light, it definitely has a very substantial feel, because it's still a good sized chunk of titanium on the wrist. So, you know, you don't have to worry about it not feeling substantial enough, or kind of, I know when you have a mechanical watch, you kind of equate the feeling, that heftiness, with the quality. So sometimes you can get caught off guard when you do have a titanium watch, because it's going to be so light. It almost feels plastic at times when you have a titanium watch, if it's a lighter model. And for this, you don't have to worry about that. I think it's, again, it just ties in with that balance and design and execution, just really nice and comfortable on the wrist. So it's substantial yet comfortable, very well proportioned, nice balanced wear. You know, as far as model variants go, there are quite a few different dial options and bezel colors and everything like that. So definitely check those out on their site. You know, there's kind of something for everyone. There's a bunch of colors that were out that are discontinued, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more that are going to come back in and out kind of as this watch continues to evolve. Now, as far as comparable models go, I'm going to go ahead and hold off on bringing in any comparables to the video until basically, you know, the bracelet comes in. For the bracelet review, I'll put it next to a Helson Shark Diver, next to a Longines Hydro Conquest, and we'll kind of see how it fares from that standpoint. But for this review, you know, we'll keep it a little bit more trim, a little bit more concise and to the point. Also, if you didn't notice, it does have those really nice drilled screw-in lugs, which is really cool and definitely helps with strap changes. So basically the bottom line for this piece is, you know, it's in a very original, bold, dynamic design. It's really an amazing diver with the specs to back it up. You know, it does have, you know, 1,000 meters water resistance. So that's 100 atmospheres, which is, you know, 3,300 feet. So definitely, you know, it has the helium escape valve there. If I can get this bad boy to focus. There we go. You know, very finely executed. Just everything on this watch just feels like it's dialed up to a 10. So, I mean, it's really, really nice. And I gotta say, I'm a lover of blue dive watches. And hey, this is right up there with the best of them. So, really impressed by this piece. You know, I can't really say, you know, any more about how excited I am to have this. And then the fact that it's a limited edition just makes it that much better for me. So with that said, if you like the video, please do hit like. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe for more content just like this. Definitely have quite a few more videos coming your way early in the new year. So go ahead, stay tuned. Thanks, guys. Bye.